Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show!
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
Boring.
A weekly podcast about sports since 2011.
Don't you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
With a focus on football.
36-yard line of Philly, shotgun snap to Hurts, dropping back, only one person rushing, Hurts looking, standing still, winding up, long pass that lands at the 20, no one is there, zeros on the clock, it's over, the Chiefs have won, Super Bowl 57 on a game-winning field goal, trailing at 10. At the halftime stop, 24-14, they go on to win 38-35. What a game.
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting here with me, though just on the other side of the curtain, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm good. Your thumb is all right that we're able to continue this tonight.
Yes, we are going to continue this, and Justin, you can go ahead and get us underway here. So we are playing our NCAA Football 14 Dynasty Mode. We're nearing the end of year 4 as the FAU Owls, and we have gotten them to the number 1 ranking now over the last few weeks. We haven't gotten to play in about a month, as Justin alluded to. I broke my thumb playing for the church softball team. My skills at third base are not up to snuff. The likes of Schmidt and Robinson, or even the more recent Alec Boehm and Edmundo Sosa, although couple, I wouldn't say those are Gold Glove caliber. Maybe Scott Rowland, Justin. You want to talk about a third baseman? But we are going to be talking not baseball tonight. We're going to be talking football because, well, Justin, it's May 7th to be exact. We're a week in, and because of the way the schedule unfolds in May, June, July, we have to start our NFL preview. That's where we're at.
Yeah, so the other day, one of my memories popped up on Facebook, and it was of us starting our NFL preview. So while it may seem early, we've done it around this time before. So sometimes that's just the way the schedule falls. Especially as we get the spring and summer, the schedule gets even crazier. So
yeah, we are going to pretty much be bi-weekly for the better part of the next few months. Because, next weekend is Mother's Day, so we're going to hang out with our wives and spend the day with them and our mothers. Then we'll be back in 2 weeks. We will do the next part of the NFL preview. Tonight we're doing both West divisions. In 2 weeks, we will do both South divisions. Then we'll be off because of Memorial Day. So we will return the first weekend in June, which is in Reading, Pennsylvania, World War II weekend, leading up to D-Day on June 6th. I believe it's Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd, and Sunday the 4th. Always a fantastic time going to the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum at the Reading Regional Airport. We will have a show that Sunday night. I'm hoping to get to the World War II weekend that Sunday with at least one of my daughters and my dad. We'll be off the following weekend. Got some things going on. I haven't even checked, Justin, with your schedule if we're even going to line up that you're going to be around and able to do some of these shows. I might have to call in a pinch hitter, Paul Roberts, and get your football predictions remotely, whether if you're available to call in or whether you just want to give them to me ahead of time. But we will be doing basically every other week, May, June, and July. That's just the way the schedule is going to shape up. But as Justin starts out on defense for us in the NCAA 14 Football Dynasty, we were playing number 5 North Texas. This is still a conference game. They are undefeated in conference, as are we. They lost one non-league game, but they look to be a stiff test for us as we look to remain undefeated at number 1 in our 4th year as coaches. Justin and I looking to win that BCS, as that's what we were playing with when this game came out. But the West divisions in the NFL, Justin. We're going to start in the NFC as we usually do. So we are talking about the 49ers, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. We have a defending conference championship game participant in this division and a wild card finisher last year in the Seattle Seahawks, and then two teams that underperformed, grossly underperformed in the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. So, as always, Justin, we start at the bottom. Who do you have fourth place in the NFC West in 2023?
All right, so in fourth place, so this is a little tricky because I think some of it comes down to what, like the health of teams like the Rams. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals in fourth place. I think they're going to be bad. I think they are loaded with draft capital for next year. But I think they're in trouble for this year.
I agree.
And their quarterback's out for the first half of the season, probably at least. So.
Right, and I think that's the biggest thing. Now, I haven't been the biggest Kyler Murray fan or supporter. He just, I had questions about his size coming out. I know he makes up for it with his speed, but there's been massive issues with, or supposed issues with how he prepares and how focused he is, and not having him isn't. He's a good athlete. He's a good quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to be the answer for the Cardinals.
No, I completely agree. When I think about just what they do, and they're resetting, like completely. They have a new coach, who they tampered with to be able to get him, and it cost them. Well, it didn't cost them pick, but it kind of forced them into trading with the Eagles so that they could handle that, which is weird. I know some other teams weren't happy about that because they're like, since when do just ownership settle tampering? But I think the NFL viewed it as a look. If they're going to settle this amongst themselves, we're not going to get involved. But it's still kind of a weird precedent to set. But either way,
I'm sure they needed the NFL's blessing for
right,
whatever they
and I'm
out.
pleased with it. And I think the NFL, when it was playing out, they don't want that sitting there and being a thing that runs into next year's draft and come up again. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you can settle it and we can handle it in this draft. Okay, fine. We'll just handle it that way. And then just move on. But I think the Cardinals have a lot of needs. They're just. I wasn't that impressed with them, and I was down on them with a healthy Kyler Murray.
Yeah, we were both down on them last year. I don't think we were fourth place on them last year,
right.
But I think we were down.
I don't think they're better. You know what I mean? Than that. So I think they're going to have a tough time. I think the Rams are going to rebound a little bit. But I think Arizona is kind of tearing down to build up. Does that make sense? So.
Yeah. They're preparing for a multi-year process.
Right,
They're essentially rebuilding,
yeah.
Even though they think they have their quarterback, or at least they do going into this season.
Right,
they think
right,
they have their
right.
quarterback.
And I know people are like, well, they just gave Kyler a thing. Yeah, but if they're in a spot to draft Caleb Williams or someone like that, I
don't see them passing.
Especially
on that.
when the Cardinals were the team who did it before,
Right.
But there's a hot mess there, though, in the front office, too, with all kinds of...
they have that suit brought against them
right,
for another, not tampering per se, but
right.
Inappropriate conduct with a suspended personnel.
Right. So, there's all kinds of weird stuff there. So, anyway, I just think the Cardinals are a hot mess in the front office, on the field, so I think they're going to be my fourth place team.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with anything that you just said. They haven't shown enough over the last... a few years ago we were high on them, and they looked pretty good. What was it, just 2 seasons ago? They started out, 8-0 or something like that, and then things got bad for them in a hurry, and they looked really bad in the playoffs, and it's been downhill ever since. They fired their coach, have a new coach. You mentioned the tampering stuff. I just don't know that they have enough players. They sort of went all in without trading a lot of draft picks like the Rams did.
Right.
It didn't go the way they needed it to go, but now it does kind of seem like they're caught in between a rebuild and a reload, and how do they sell this to fans? And now they have a new coaching staff again, and
Right.
but yeah, I see them in 4th place because I don't think Kyler's going to start the year. I think he's going to be on the PUP list, and I don't know that they have much else out there to get things going.
No.
In the long run. So I have them at 4, which is where they finished this past season. I do believe that my 3rd place team is going to be the same team that finished in 3rd place last year. I feel like I do this every year, and I don't know how to get out of the cycle because I just don't know when to make a change. Like, I don't know what I'm confident in looking at what has happened since the end of last year.
Right.
Were the Rams as bad as they were? No. But what's Stafford going to be when he gets back? I have so many questions about him.
They were a team that openly and willingly mortgaged their future for a championship.
Right.
And it paid off. They won a championship. But then the second part of that
it's a
deal
risk you take.
also plays out. You mortgaged your future for the Super Bowl. Like, they got it, and that's I don't blame them. Like, that's what you do. Like, it's fine.
Oh,
but
no.
It's just one of those things
Well,
where
at least it was 4th down.
it's one of those things where, like, now they have the other side of that.
Hopefully our defense can play a little better this.
Well, hopefully the offense can play better next time. Yeah. So, well, let's take a step back though. We didn't do Cardinals wins. We did place, and we tried to give a ballpark. And I know it doesn't ever add up to the right amount of wins, but I don't think the Cardinals are very good. I see them as probably a 4 or 5 win team.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's exactly where I put them. Yep.
4-13, 5-12. That's what I'm picturing for the Arizona Cardinals in 2023. LA Rams, on the other hand, I think they're better than they were a year ago. I think a lot went bad for them a year ago.
Oh, exactly. Everything went wrong for them last year.
I mean, when you lose your quarterback.
When you're trading for Baker Mayfield during the season, I feel like that tells
it was
you.
a free agent. They had released him.
Sorry, I meant like when you're picking him up in the season.
Right, yeah, when he's.
That's clearly not.
Yeah,
going.
not ideal. So, so the Cardinals went 4-13 last year. That's about what we say they're going to go this year. Rams were 5-12 last year. Honestly, I don't know that I see them. No, I do. I see them being better than that. They're not going to be 5-12.
Right. Yeah, I agree though. I think a lot of the questions that they had last year are still going to be there this year. Like this is definitely I feel obligated to think Allen Robinson still has something left.
Yeah.
But like,
although
I was shocked that
now,
they couldn't use him. You know what
I
mean?
Yeah, they really didn't know what to do with him.
Right. Which is one thing if it's a guy you end up with, but like they traded for him. Like you feel like if you trade for somebody, you've got a plan. And both sides seemed ready to move on from that. So not thrilled that he went to the Steelers, but that's good for him. I feel like that's a good fit for him. But when we look at it, they still have a bunch of holes. I feel like on an aging group. We'll see. And honestly, if Stafford's not able to go, for the length of the season, I think they're in trouble again.
Yeah,
I think they're in trouble anyway, but I think it will come in a hurry if Stafford can't bail him out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm not sold on Stafford being able to regain any of the magic that he had just 2 years ago.
Right.
I think that's a long shot. He's getting older now. He's been injured, beat up. Yeah, you're right. They mortgaged the future. They won the Super Bowl at what cost? I mean, honestly, as a fan of a team that has not won a Super Bowl in my lifetime, I'd be completely okay with that.
Right. No, absolutely. Remember, we used to talk about this with the Marlins all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Marlins would win a championship, be one of the worst teams in baseball
for 4 or 5 years.
And then they'd climb back in there and they'd win another one like every 10 years. Like, who wouldn't sign up for that? I mean, I know there are teams that wouldn't, but like, as a Philadelphia fan, I'm going to be hard not to.
Right, completely. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I have the Rams in third as well. I'm going to peg them for like 7-ish
Yeah, that's
wins.
exactly what I was going to say. 7 to 10 is
right. I could see it being 10 if everything goes right.
Oh my God! I don't
Like
know
if everything goes right, I could see them getting to double digits, but not being in third. Then obviously,
right.
That's the thing. Like they're a team where I view everything going right, and they're still only at 10 wins. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that
No,
tells you a lot.
I was gonna say 7-10.
Yep.
That's my
Yep.
thought is 7-10 for them. So that's 2 wins more than this past season. But I as much as I want to shake it up, I just feel like I can't. I
No,
feel
I
like
agree.
I have to go with. Oh no! Get to the line.
Nice.
So yeah, Rams are 7-10. My third place team. Your third place team. Who's your second place team?
All right, so I don't want to go this way, but I will go this way. I'm going Seattle in second place. I think Seattle did well with the Russell Wilson trade. I do worry, that like they're going to have some of the problems that they ran into at the end of Russell Wilson, where they kind of plateau at quarterback play a little bit.
Yeah.
That's not a knock on Geno Smith, but like I'm not sure, like, can he give you better than what he gave you this past year? I don't know. You know what I mean? Nice job.
I
nice
thought he
job.
was gonna break it one last time. Watch my
So
time.
like it'll be interesting, but they've added a lot of young pieces. Like I feel like they're building really well there, and I just think they've got the pieces to finish in second place there.
Right.
I think, all the things I like about them though, like when I look at, San Francisco basically, like I feel like San Francisco's got the edge in a bunch of those spots. So like, I think I think they're better than the Cardinals, and I think they have the depth to be better and more consistent than the Rams. I don't think they have the game changers yet that San Francisco has. So that's why I have them in second place.
How many wins are you looking at for the Seahawks in second?
I think nine.
They were 9-8 last year.
I think nine or 10 wins. Which again, like I don't know that makes them better than last year. We also have this conversation when we do these. Like sometimes, like you can have a win, you can have like the same number of wins or only like one win more, but like it just feels different. I think 10 wins, which is only one win more, would feel very different for Seattle than what they just had this past year.
Right.
Where it kind of felt like, oh man, like a Cinderella ride. Like the expectations are going to be there this year a little bit for them. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I have them 9 or 10 wins. Honestly, I don't expect Geno Smith to play as well as he did last year.
But I don't think he has to be like a stud if the rest of that team is
Right, and
getting it done.
I like their draft, or the beginning of their draft, getting the cornerback Witherspoon from Illinois, the wide receiver and Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. Like I think those are great additions to that team. And like it or not, and I don't like it, Pete Carroll has proven that he can be a good big time pro coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he was a pro coach when he was a college coach, right? I mean, what they were paying at USC.
I prefer Pete
But-
Carroll from his New England Patriots days.
Oh gosh.
But I'm there with you. I think the Seahawks have done enough in draft free agency and have figured out what they got with Geno Smith that another year of knowing that Geno's the guy, they're going to be ready to go.
Yeah.
Do I think they're great? No. Do I think, they're a wild card team? Yeah, I think they'll be in contention again. But that just leaves the division to the 49ers. And
Right.
I really wanted to go away from San Francisco.
Oh, me too.
But I don't know how you can
Oh,
because
no, absolutely.
top, in terms of playmakers, personnel, it's the 49ers division to lose easily.
Yeah.
And the biggest question mark, though, is the most important position on the field is quarterback, and that's because of injuries over the last season. Because you saw Trey Lance go down last year, you saw Garoppolo, who's no longer there, go down last year. And then we saw Brock Purdy go down last year, which obviously the 49ers would have beaten the Eagles if Purdy could play.
I hate you. I hate you.
Well, I wanted to get that in because my dad's already been talking Eagles, and I'm like, yeah, it's the NFC West show. We don't need to talk about the Eagles tonight.
Right. Well, and like the thing is, the Niners are very good, and they've added some key pieces. Like I do think it's their division to lose. But like, I don't know. Everyone talked about them being these world beaters last year. Like, who did they beat down the stretch with Brock Purdy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, they won some games, but like most of those games were not all that impressive. I don't know.
Well, I think thinking is they had a great defense last year, and they've gotten
Right.
better by adding an eagle to it.
That's true. That's true. But like at the same time, like it doesn't always work like that. You know what I mean? Like we've
Right.
seen that a lot too, where like, oh, this team. Well, and like the same thing will come up when we talk about the Eagles. Like the Eagles, like had a great run last year, and lost some pieces, but added some key pieces, and have some young guys that are looking to step up into those roles. It doesn't mean that like you just automatically get there. You know, like so. I don't know.
No, but
Like and I can't say it without it sounding like a slight, right? But like we'll see about Brock Purdy. You know, like
Right.
we'll see. Like maybe he is the dude, right? And good for him if he is. But like we're gonna see if he is. You know, like we've seen flashes before. So and if he is, or if he's even close to it, yeah, they've got all the weapons to not just compete for the division, but to be playing a lot of games into the winner. You know, so
yeah.
we'll see. But it is absolutely their division to lose.
Well, I don't think Purdy's going to start the year either.
Oh no!
So
absolutely
is
not.
that going to be Sam Darnold out there?
Yeah.
Is Sam Darnold going to even make it through training camp? Because they just signed someone else. They have 4 quarterbacks right now:
Right.
Trey Lance, Sam Darnold,
What
Brock Purdy, and
what
someone
if
else.
Lance? What if Lance plays and he's like okay?
Right.
What do you do? Also, and don't get me wrong, like
I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have.
everyone talks about Shanahan as like this like coaching wizard, right? And he is a great coach. Like he's been successful. He's also been awful at the worst times.
Yeah. Well,
Multiple times, like multiple instances. This isn't like one or two things. Like, and I know we've addressed this plenty of time, but they can say all they want about Brock Purdy getting hurt. They continued to not block the Eagles' pass rushers.
Yeah, it was not a great scheme.
Right,
Sure.
and if you're telling me that that's, wasn't the scheme, well, then you're telling me Brock Purdy's blowing his protection assignments? You know, like,
over and over again.
right, so, like, something doesn't add up. Like, it just, like, it wasn't just a freak accident, so.
Right. So, that being said, Justin, where do we have the 49ers?
I'm gonna put them at like 12 wins. I think because
Last year they were 13-4.
in part I think they're as good, if not better, than last year. But like I don't think the Rams will be as bad. I think the Cardinals will be bad, but like 13 wins is a lot. 13-4 is pretty crazy. I think I'm gonna have them at 12.
Okay. Sounds good.
How about you?
I think I'll have them take a step back a little. Still the best team in that division. I think I'll have them go 11-6 though this time around. And looks like my feed is frozen. Ooh, that's not good. Oh, there we go. Reactivated. Sorry if you missed a play there. Yeah. So okay, so yes, we have some comments on YouTube from our friend Jamie Sands chanting defense. So he likes how you've risen up to the slow start and have produced a few good back-to-back drives. I would like to point out that after my slow start, the offense scored 2 touchdowns in a row. No one's chanting for me though. Dr. Andy Hoffert asked how's the thumb feeling? Good enough for a truck stick? And I think I got the truck stick down. I ran over those guys and almost scored on that big 17-yard run to set up the first touchdown. So yes, the thumb is still a little sore, and there's a little bit of a awkward feeling as playing with the joystick, but nothing we can't overcome. I wanted to get this stream going, and really the thumb has felt much better since middle of last week. I really turned the corner, so I'm happy to be able to get back to most normal activities, like playing video games. I have to put the splint back on for work because I'm more concerned now about accidentally jamming it.
Oh my gosh, that was a fumble.
Hitting something.
Yeah,
Bumping it while at work is like one of my fears. Has made it difficult to hold pens and pencils and scissors. I use scissors a lot, and I'm not able to do that
It's
with
probably
my
those
thumb,
things you
so.
realize, like, you use it, but like now that like you really are like
Oh,
made
yeah.
aware of it.
It's got a bit of an epiphany of how much you use your thumb to do things. It's been an experience, but I'm on the mend. Won't be well, I was gonna say won't be picking up the bat at softball this week, but that would be lying because I picked up the bat on Thursday night in an emergency situation. So if I'm called upon again, I will make sure that I rise to the occasion and stand up there and try not to strike out this coming week. But I do plan on doing more in softball soon. So I don't have doctor for about 10 more days. So. All right, so that's the NFC West. Let's shift over to the AFC West, which is home of the defending Super Bowl champions and the most recent, perhaps, start of a dynasty, depending on what Mahomes and Reed can do out there, taking the mantle from the Patriots after a 20-year run. The Chiefs now have been in 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls and have won 2 of them. But we're not starting at the top, which is where I'm going to guess Kansas City's probably going to land, at least I wouldn't think any lower than second. Who's in the bottom of the AFC West?
All right. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If I have to look at the AFC West, I'm going with the Raiders in last place. I think we saw some of the dysfunction that McDaniels can bring to a team. I just don't. I don't know. I'm just not that confident in them. I feel like I need to see it. I feel like they had some things building a couple years ago, and with the interim guy, was it Bisaccia or something like that?
Yeah, the special teams coach.
Yeah, and then when the team didn't bring him back, and then with some contract decisions after that, some of their key guys have gotten out or wanted out, and
Well, they traded Darren Waller.
Right. And so I'm just kind of like with the Raiders, I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean? Like they,
Yeah.
so.
Well, they swapped Derek Carr for Jimmy G. Carr went to New Orleans, so
Right.
we won't talk much about him today. But
Which I don't feel like there's going to be much difference at quarterback for them. You know, like I feel like I don't know that they got better, but I don't know that they're worse. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, Jimmy G went from first to worst because
Right.
I'm in agreement with you. I have the Raiders being the 4th team
Okay.
in that division. I wasn't super impressed by Josh McDaniels with his little limited time in Denver, and I don't think his first year in Las Vegas was too much better.
Right. It
And-
seemed completely dysfunctional.
Well, and you also have to look at what they're competing against. This isn't going to be a walk
Yeah.
in the park. They've
Right.
got the defending Super Bowl champ, like I said, one of the best teams over the last 5 years, if not the best team of the last 5 years in the Kansas City Chiefs. They have Justin Herbert and the Chargers, who I feel like are kind of somewhat stuck in the Phillip Rivers cycle, where
Yeah.
they should be better than they are.
Yep.
But they're still good, and I think better than the Raiders.
Well, you think they're wasting a generational talent at quarterback? I mean, that's a bit of a stretch at this point, I feel like, but
I think there's a lot of people that think that way, though.
right. So, and it's going to be interesting how this plays out because me and my college buddies, in part because we were in school in Pittsburgh, we used to always have the conversation like if Eli and Phillip Rivers and Big Ben had like if you mix up those teams, like how does it play out? And obviously, there's no way to really know that, but like basically, we're like whoever ends up on the Steelers would have been successful because of the way those teams were constructed. Like, this is in part my take. I can't speak for everyone, but like, and basically a lot of us were like, whoever goes to the Chargers is going to be in trouble because like while they had they've had weapons, they always found ways to just be the Chargers.
Right.
But it was just an interesting thing that we would always talk about. I feel like we could end up doing that with Herbert and some of those guys potentially down the road, looking at like, oh man, like how would this have been different if this team would have taken that team? I know that cuts a little close for you.
Yeah.
But like,
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, finding a way to work that in our AFC West discussion. But like I think, there's a lot of talent in that division, even on some of the teams that underperformed last year. And do you want to do your third place team, or do you want me to do my third place team?
I'll go. Since you went first
Yeah.
that time, I'll go first this time. So my third place team is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, okay.
So this is my first mix-up. I don't think this is a bad third place team.
No.
I do think it's going to be very close between them and the Denver Broncos because I don't think it's a spoiler to say the Chiefs are my number one. I know going into last year, a lot of people were like, can Kansas City win this division again?
Answer, yes.
Yes, they can. So I have the Chargers in third. I want to have them up higher, and that's not. I don't like.
No.
Now that Chad's not with Kansas City, my affinity for them isn't as high, but I still do like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I'm still gonna pull for the Chiefs by and large. But you know how much I love the Chargers jerseys, and
Right.
that plays a lot into it when it's not taking into account that it's not my team.
Well, it's not like Herbert is a guy who, like, even in college, we were like, oh, big anti-Justin Herbert. You know, like...
No, like, I didn't have anything against him.
Right. Like...
I did always want him to be at least the third best quarterback in this class.
Which I completely understand.
Which
That's
you get from the
right.
Wentz
I
thing.
talk about that with Goff, and yeah.
So, but I feel like they keep accumulating the same type of offensive weapon. What they did in the draft was a little head scratching because they already had big body wide receivers that can't stay healthy.
Who did they just get as their offensive coordinator? Oh, the kid from Dallas. Isn't he the offensive coordinator
Yes,
now?
Kellen Moore. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, like, don't get me wrong. I would love to see them be successful with him as the coordinator out there now. Because, like, as just a, like, oh, Dallas, like, what's going on kind of thing. But
Oh no! Oh, are you kidding me? You gotta be kidding. Well, I'll just let us wind down, take a timeout, and kick a field goal.
well, they took a timeout.
Oh, did they? Oh shoot!
I think so, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't like this. All right.
I wish they roughed the kicker. That would have been great.
I can't believe he couldn't get a yard on 3rd and 1. So,
All right, no pressure here, right?
yeah, to finish the AFC West. So, I look at the Chargers as just a team that I always want to have higher. I feel like we have this discussion literally every year we've done this show. We've been doing this show since February 2015.
Right.
Or not 15, sorry, 2011. February 2011. So we have gone through many NFL seasons, and one or both of us, usually it was me, would always think the Chargers were going to be better than they ended up being, and I don't want to get caught in that trap again. So while I think they could be pushing for 10 wins this season, I feel like I need to have some kind of change or maybe surprise. Although saying they're going to win 9 or 10 games isn't much different than last year. They were 10-7 a year ago. They made the playoffs. They should have won the playoff game.
Yep.
But I don't know. Something just is telling me that they're going to have a rough go of it, that they're probably going to end up having to fire their coach and move on again so that Herbert will be on another new coach and who could then bring in another new offensive coordinator. I don't see them being bad, but I feel like they're just going to be stuck in this rut and spinning their wheels. So I have the Chargers in 3rd place. I'm thinking 8 or 9 wins. I don't want to push them to 10 what they got last year because I can't have my 2nd place team winning like 11.
Right.
So I'm going to put Chargers at 8 or 9, taking a step back.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them probably at like 8 or 9 wins. I think it comes down to a couple things. Comes down to quarterback play, which I believe in their quarterback, and coaching. And I don't really believe in their coaching, and I don't know that they have enough weapons to make up for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't even mention the Eckler situation.
Right.
He wants a new contract. Is he even going to show up and be available? They have two great wide receivers and an unknown but early, 1st round draft pick to trot out there. But can they stay healthy and can they not overlap with one another? They have no speed. They have size and possession, but they don't have speed, which is why everyone thought instead of Johnston they were going to go with Zay Flowers. but they didn't do that. Or even Jordan Addison for his route running. Didn't happen. They went with Quentin Johnston from TCU. So I don't know. I question some of the moves that they made in the offseason, and I question the coaching, the way that went down at the end of last year.
They ran it instead of spiking it, and time ran out.
And game is over.
Yeah, he Dak Prescotted the ball right there. Hope your dad's still listening.
Oh, I'm sure he loves that. Yeah, I'm sure he loves that. All right, so advance that, get ready, get things set up. I believe I already did the recruiting, so you should be able to just advance it straight through, and you can do the coin toss and everything, and we'll get started on game number 2. But we survived North Texas at our place, remain undefeated, should still be ranked number 1. Should be about to win our conference if we didn't already. So good things happening for the Florida Atlantic Owls under Coach Joey Raffoff. Back in the AFC West for our 2023 NFL preview. So do you also have the Chargers in 3rd then?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, so
Yep.
I'm assuming then we both have Denver 2nd.
Yes.
All right, so we're both going to be a believer that the Broncos was a 1-year hiccup based on
yes.
weird things with Russell Wilson to start.
Did you read that article or see that article about how his I for lack of a better term and forgetting the exact it was almost like his life coach kind of thing,
Yes.
got sick and passed away and
Yes, yeah, I read both of those articles about Russell over the last few months.
Yeah, so and just the situation, I didn't believe in their coach either, So I think Sean Payton is a great coach. I think you're at least going to get a fair chance to see what Russell Wilson and that Broncos team can be under him.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think they're going to be much improved. I think there's more talent there than people were giving them credit for.
Right, and that's where I'm kind of...
I know the defense kind of stood out, but I still think they are very talented offensively, even despite what they gave up and some of the things they gave up in the trade and stuff. So I think they're going to be good. I don't know. I just feel like they could win some of those games that the Chargers lose. Does that make sense? How the Chargers find a way to lose some games every year, I feel like the Broncos could find ways to win a couple games this year because of that. And
well, to me, Denver now has the 2nd best coach in the division.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's 2nd is because Andy Reid is the other one there. In most other places, Sean Payton would be the best coach in the division, even after taking a year off. I feel like he's going to get the best out of Russell. I think Russell's going to have his head on straight going into this year after the way things ended in Seattle and then the first year in Denver. I think there's a huge difference with Wilson going into this season. Their defense was amazing last year. I don't really see why it's not going to implode. It should still be very strong. And if you add a better offense, I think they can turn that 5-12 record into something like 10-7.
I agree.
So I think they could be on the verge of a wild card berth. I know last year everyone was really freaking out and thought they could unseat the Chiefs and win that division.
Yeah, no.
You and I don't want to say we hedged, but we were a little bit more cautious with them. But we did not envision 5-12. We did not think they were going to go 5-12, which is what they finished last season.
Yeah, it was bad last year.
It was a bad year, but I do not think they're the 4th best team in that division. Or I should say the worst team in that division. I think they can make a case for 2nd place. So if I have the Raiders going right around what they did last year at 6-11, the Chargers sitting at 8 or 9, I'm going to put the Broncos at 9-10. So I think they're good with Sean Payton and the 2nd year of Russell Wilson. I think they're good for a 4 or 5 win bump. But that brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I know once again they lost a bunch of talent. They got rid of Frank Clark on defense. They lost a couple wide receivers again. Juju is gone to New England. Mecole Hardman is now with the Jets. But is there any way we should underestimate Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes? Is there any reason we should say this is the year they get knocked off?
No, and they were there before, but they're certainly there now. And until I see different, they're the go-to. I guess the biggest question mark I have about the Chiefs is do they have the guy that can come in there and fill in at the biggest moments for Patrick Mahomes and get the job done like they have the last few years with Chad.
Right.
So-
Well, they gave out that number 4 jersey to one of their new draft picks, and there were people, and I know it was somewhat sarcastically, tongue in cheek, saying number 4 should never be worn again. They wanted it to be retired. And I know that wasn't truthful, but it's the sentiment. Like they're not making fun of him.
No,
they're
no.
saying we appreciate everything you did for us.
Right.
Because
It's a
they
perfect
know that
example
they
of-
may not have been able to win those 2 or go to 3 Super Bowls, win 2 of them without Chad's coming off the bench when he did and
Right,
how he
exactly.
did, what he was able to do.
Exactly.
So that was cool to see. But they got Mr. Gabbard in there,
Yeah.
doing this weird. Following Chad wherever he goes.
Yeah. But well, yeah. I mean, they're the team to beat. I mean, I don't. Like I said earlier, 13 wins is a lot. I could see them winning 13 though, like just because they've got the best quarterback in the game.
Yeah, I think that's the upper part.
And like there's still that drive because there's only the one bye. Like there is that drive to get that 1 seed, not the 2 seed. Too, you know what I mean? And there is that whole thing, like Patrick Mahomes has never played a true road game in the playoffs. Like how insane is that? You know,
no way, come on.
for a guy who's played a lot in a lot of playoff games.
Right,
you know,
right,
like it's one thing if you've only played like 2 or 3 playoff games, but like he's played a bunch.
He's played a lot, yeah.
And again, that's because they've been good and because they got a little help the 1 year, you know, in week 17 at the time. Yeah, we'll see. I'm just gonna turn that alarm.
I got it.
You got it. Okay.
Actually, I have my watch on, so I can do it.
Nice. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to put them at 13 wins just because I think they're the best, and I think they're going to be up there with the best teams in the AFC, and I think that's 13, right around 13 is where that's going to be probably. So,
Yeah, they impressed me a lot. I feel like they always either start slow or they have a little bit of a hiccup
right.
at some point, but they impressed me last year all the way to a Super Bowl win. Had come from behind fashion, just incredible offensive prowess. Like Andy Reid is just such a mastermind.
Right.
Be interesting to see what happens with the loss of Bieniemy, if that has any impact.
yes. Yeah, that's
I know
true.
Andy Reid is the play caller, but everyone we've talked to, because we actually got to talk to a Kansas City Chief about it, that yes, Eric Bieniemy is brilliant and helped a lot with that offensive scheme.
Right.
So,
And
are you kidding?
And I look at things like
He fumbled.
I look at things like like do they start to get bored with the regular season? You know, I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, do they get to the point where they're like, if we make the playoffs, we can win the Super Bowl? You know, like that.
As long as they can come through when it matters, I guess that's all you need. But so they're just the gold standard. They're the team that everyone is chasing
They're
and
the
wants
team
to
everyone's
emulate.
chasing right now.
So, yeah, so you have the Chiefs. You think they can get the 13-4 again? I'll take a step back just because I think with Denver being better, I'm not saying they're going to beat the
that's
Chiefs,
fair.
but I think like 12-5.
Right.
But right there with the class of the AFC chasing that number 1 seed, there's a lot of good AFC teams, a lot of good AFC quarterbacks, or a lot of AFC quarterbacks that have potential and have shown flashes and could be taking the next step. We'll see how it goes, but the AFC is going to be a gauntlet again. There's a good chance that I feel like of the AFC divisions, the West is the most clear cut to me. Like,
Well, yeah, because I feel like they have the team that's, has proven multiple times that they're the best team. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
some of the other ones have teams that are right there, but,
I don't want to jump into other divisions because we're doing this,
right.
show
No,
by
I
show.
get it,
but
I get it.
I have so many teams that I want to talk about, but I just feel like the AFC East is a juggernaut. I could see honestly any of those 4 teams possibly winning the division this year. I'm not ready to make any predictions. You'll have to tune in about 4 weeks for that, 5 weeks, whenever it'll be. But I feel like the AFC South, I also know who's going to win that, I think. AFC North is interesting, though. But, yeah, I don't want to jump ahead. But I do see it being Chargers, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, in the AFC West, and in the NFC West, I see 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. So, and one of the nice things for this year, Justin, and see if I can do this. Well, I'll have to wait until I come back, but I found the old magnetic scoreboard standings playoff tracker board that my dad, I believe, purchased with some credit card points. Natalie and I figured it out today. We were sleuths that it was in 2009.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
I'll show it on the camera when I'm done playing my part of the game right here.
Yeah, it's really cool. It reminds me of last year at the Phillies. Austin wanted as a souvenir this little thing. It's like all the like mini helmets, not ice cream like
Yeah, no,
helmet
I know
size,
what you're
but like
talking
the
about, yeah.
smaller than that. And the holder they come in, you can like take them in and out, and not every day, but often throughout the course of the summer and stuff, he would
Update
ask
it.
me to pull up the standings, and he would rearrange them based
Yeah,
on
that's
the
awesome.
standings. So like,
Yeah.
that was fun to do.
Yeah, so I brought it from my parents' house at least a year ago, maybe even longer, but I just had it in the garage. I just hadn't thought about it, and then I did a lot of rearranging and updating down here, and it was just kind of sitting there. And then Kelly and I worked in the garage yesterday for a long time, and I was just like, it's time to bring that in. Kelly's like, don't you want it for the basement? And she says, do you, shoot. Why don't you use it with Natalie? Because last year she had drawn brackets for the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
And she's like,
yeah.
it has that on there. And I'm like, yeah, it does. That's awesome. And then Natalie and I were doing our investigation today to figure out what year this was from. I realized I was like, it's not going to work for the playoffs because they added it teams.
Right, it's gonna be different.
Yeah, so, but it's still cool because I can write the Dolphins' schedule and I can keep track of the standings. And what I was thinking of doing is rearranging the helmets in the order that I think they'll finish this year, and then I have proof at the end of the season that I can go back and revisit. What is that? Jeez.
No, that's good. So we have other proof other than show historian in New England.
Yeah, other than show
emailing
historian
us.
Uncle Rich Mays.
Right.
Yes, I will have at least proof of my predictions. The way I see it at this moment. So I was in the process of rearranging the West divisions before you finish your defensive.
I also don't like that we have, and this happens a lot, we've agreed on both of them so far. Like on all 8 teams, we've agreed so far.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't like anything that just happened. That was really stupid.
It's all bad.
That was one of those, as soon as I went to hit the button, my brain was like, don't do that, but my thumb was like, too late.
I don't know if you saw the one I sent you tonight. That was like the shirt that like sums things up. It's like all oopsies, no daisies.
So I'm gonna, let me see if I can pull up
he
one
just
of these
truck
other
sticked
cameras.
Our star linebacker. That's good.
Oh yeah, I think that's so. I think I gotta do this. So. Alright, so I'm gonna transfer this over so people can see it and look ridiculous on the screen. Well, you can't see me yet, so it's fine. Alright, so this is the board that I'm talking about. You can see that. So it has all the team helmets. They're all magnets, and then it has a dry erase component. It has the AFC, then my team. I can plot out 17 weeks, which works still for games, so I just will skip the bye. I'll just write the 17 games, and there's the NFC. And you can pick all of them off. Like here, I can throw this one in the trash. This is the worst one on the board.
Which one was it?
Patriots.
Oh, well, I assumed that was it, but like without being able to see, I didn't really know. Which one.
But so since we're kind of at the end of our predictions as we went over the AFC and NFC West, I'm going to talk a little bit about the investigation Natalie and I did today for figuring out when this is from. So I'm going to transition the camera over so I'm not making people seasick holding this up. And I'm going to pull the magnets off one by one, at least while Justin's on defense. And I can show you how we figured out that this is from just before the 2009 season. So people who appreciate uniform aesthetics and helmet design and logo creation.
Which is you.
It's just all me.
Yes, picked them off at the goal line.
Yes, okay. I'm going to have to pause that as I'm going to go play. Justin, why don't you talk a little bit, bring us up to speed on what's happening in other Philadelphia sports that are not the Eagles and football?
Okay, so not a lot that I want to talk about happened since last week's show.
Tear that Band-Aid off.
So, yeah, coming into last Sunday night, the Phillies had won two in a row against the Astros.
Yeah, when we streamed Thursday for the
Yeah.
NFL draft, Thursday a week
And
ago,
then-
about 10 days ago, things weren't too bad.
No, and then they lost Sunday night against the Astros. No big deal. You go into Houston and win 2 out of 3, and both your big time pitchers looked good and had wins, and the bullpen was looking great. No problem. Go to LA, get shellacked,
Destroyed.
2 games in a row. All right, so now you've lost 3 in a row, and haven't looked particularly good doing it. But okay, whatever,
No. Oh, come on.
And then
Are
next
you kidding me?
is and the Sixers lost in that meantime. However, things were bad throughout the week. Pouting as you walk back. Things took a turn for the better today as the Sixers tied it up. What a game. But I'll let you do your magnets.
That was awful. That was just terrible. It was another one of those. At that time I hit the wrong button, and it didn't help that the guy was in the grass getting sacked.
Dude, you're missing the opportunity to be like, it's my thumb. What would
That's
anyone
right.
say?
Oh,
to
my
this?
thumb. I don't know that I can go on. No, so that's 3 terrible. Well, the fumble. I can't really do much about the fumble, but last 2 interceptions were god awful. Okay, so let's get to the board here in the magnets. If anyone's interested in this, we got to finish this game, and we're done with the NFL preview portion. So I'm gonna just talk about this. So there are a few things that Natalie and I were able to figure out based on the helmet designs or the logos, and then actually the design of the board itself. So looking in the north, there was nothing there that was going to help us. But immediately we get to the Tennessee Titans in the south. The Titans were a big giveaway because they are certainly not wearing the helmet that is pictured here. So the helmet that's pictured here is their original one from when they first moved to Tennessee. And it was fun today, Justin, talking about why this looks different and things that happen. We talked about the history of the NFL and these teams, in particular what happened with Cleveland, Baltimore, Indianapolis,
Yes.
Tennessee, and Houston, and actually technically Houston and Kansas City because there's a link
Yes.
there. So we were talking about all that thing. I got to talk about how old the NFC North is, how much they've been around. So we're going to pause that discussion as I go back up front to play the offensive portion of the Dynasty mode.
Right, held them to a field goal there. Okay, so real quick, the Sixers won game 1 behind a great effort by James Harden and Tyrese Maxey and the crew, but looked uninspired in game 2 and sloppy in game 3, and went down 1-2 against Boston. But they looked much better today. They were in control until the fourth quarter, and then they blew a 9-point lead, and just Boston was hitting lots of shots, but missed some key ones late. Sixers and James Harden specifically made some key ones late. And man, did he have a heck of a game, including the basket that tied the game and sent it to overtime, and also the basket that won them the game, the 3-pointer on an assist from Embiid. So they look much better. That game is now a best of 3. They need to win one in Boston, and they have to win their home game. It's a tall task, but hey, it's the NBA playoffs. Not even the first round of the playoffs, the second round of the playoffs. You're going to have to beat good teams.
Right. At some point, it's going to happen.
So you want to get it done. Yeah, it's there for the taking. You need to get it done. Oh man, we'll take
what
it.
a
We'll
catch.
take it. And the Phillies had a bounce back win today. Looked good against the Red Sox. Have been up and down a bit, but they're still right there, right around 500.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to watch them lose. And they had lost 6 in a row.
Yeah, they lost 6 in a row. Yeah, so hopefully they can get right back on track and win a few in a row here. They just gotta hang in there. They gotta hang in there. The thing is, the Mets have been in a skid right now too. So
they haven't capitalized.
Right. So they haven't capitalized, and you need to, hopefully the offense. Well, like I said, Trey Turner had hit in a few games in a row, but it's not just the hits. It's
Come on,
when you get
the
them.
first down.
But at the same time, Kyle Schwarber had a couple big hits today. So when he breaks out,
Yeah,
that's
Natalie
going
and I
to
were
be good.
watching for his home run.
And as Harper gets into the routine, and hopefully Castellanos can keep it going. Like, I'm confident they'll be fine.
Yeah, because unfortunately Turner and Marsh have cooled off after their hot start.
Right.
Home to an extent.
Yeah. But I think they will come back as those other guys start to get, and they get more protection in the lineup. So it'll be fine. They need more production out of the starting pitching. Starting pitching has been a huge liability. And
number 1 and 2 have not been great.
Right. And yeah. So
everything behind them has been trash.
Right. Yeah. And when the bullpen has been good, the rest of the team hasn't been. The relief pitching has been like the hitting, where it's been great, but at times it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Starting pitcher gave up 6 runs in 3 innings, and they
shut him down.
Right, they shut him down. Well, that's great, and we lose 6-1 or 6-2. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point. So, yeah, it's about consistency, and the Phillies aren't there right now, but hopefully they can right that ship, and I'm confident they will. But, yeah, so that's kind of where
Audible for
run.
the win.
Yeah, so man, James Harden, in his games 2 and 3, was the worst 2-game playoff stretch of his career in terms of his statistics. He's never had 2 back-to-back games that bad. However, games 1 and games 4 were two of his best in his career. Yeah.
All right, so like I was saying about the Tennessee Titans, so up until 2017, from the late 90s when they moved there, the Titans used this helmet. So I knew that this board had to be made before 2017. So this was one of the first things that we used. So we knew that this was made before 2017. Didn't really thought about the Colts because I couldn't remember when they changed their gray face mask from blue to gray, but it was actually in the early 2000s. Dolphins are wearing the old logo, which Natalie pointed out right away. She's like, the Dolphins have their old logo. And I said that was
super proud at that.
That
moment,
was true. Yes, was very proud. And they actually changed to this away from this logo to start the 2013 season. So now I knew that this had to be from the early 2000s until 2012.
Which is pushing it beyond Natalie's lifetime, correct?
Right. Yeah. So now we're before Natalie was born. But then also one of the bigger ones was the Buffalo Bills, because they have a red helmet here, and they haven't used a red helmet since 2010. So they have a red helmet with the white face mask. They use variations of that from 87 through 2010. But so I was like, well, this is pre-2010. So I looked at the Jets as well. That didn't help us because we had already narrowed it down to inside the range. They wore the white helmet from 98 to 2018. So the Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders were not helpful. Obviously, the Raiders have changed locations because on here they're listed as Oakland. But I did know that the Los Angeles Chargers, or in this case the San Diego Chargers, could possibly help us out as well. And they wore a white helmet with this design from 2007 through 2016. That fits in the realm. So we know that it's 2007 to 2010, based on the Chargers helmet, the Dolphins helmet, the Bills helmet, and the Titans. So we're 2007 to 2010. Well, the NFC North, I at first didn't think there would be anything that helped us there. Same thing with the South. I looked at the East. No, I don't think there's anything there. I mean, obviously, this still has it as the Redskins. The Seahawks did change their helmet a bit from what it is now. They changed the color of the logo on their helmet. The current one has gray, whereas the old one had this orange or greenish teal. But when that change was made was after 2010. It was in 2011 was the last time they used that, and we were already within the 2007 to 2010 time frame. But then I was like, well, you know what? The Lions and Panthers also did make minor tweaks, and the Panthers one blew Natalie's mind because I said, she's like, it's the same. I'm like, no, it's not. Look at the logo. So this is the original Carolina Panthers helmet and logo, and it's going to be really hard to see on the stream. But if you know, in 2012, the Panthers logo was tweaked a little to remove some of the white or gray in the logo and make it more blue. So outside the time frame that we have narrowed it down to, but I still thought that was interesting. And then the Lions as well. The Detroit Lions changed their helmet in 2009. They went to the one listed here, which has black on the helmet. They have black on the helmet. It outlines the lion. It's really hard to tell on the screen. I promise you that's black on the outline. Because the one that they're using now is actually a blue outline on the lion. And that change was made in 2009. So I knew that this helmet had to be or not the helmet. This board itself had to be from 2009 because the Lions were not using this helmet in 2007 or 2008. And we had teams that changed after 2009 that did not change on this board. One of the other things that helped us, and this was not the exact order that Natalie and I went in, but the AFC and NFC logos on the board, I can't take those off because they're not magnets. The AFC and NFC logos on the board are also not what are in use now. The AFC logo has 4 stars in it running down the right side. They moved to that in 2010. That was initially, Justin, how we narrowed it down to 2007 to 2010 was the AFC and NFC logos. And then it was the Detroit Lions that put us over the top to nail down that this was manufactured after the changes were made for the 2009 season, the Lions helmet. So this was made probably in the spring of 2009, getting ready for the fall of 2009 season.
So this is definitely one of those where the people are probably like, I can't believe Joey would go through all that. And I'm like, this is yet again just another example of conversations you and I would have. Like we talk about uniform stuff all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So like, it doesn't surprise me at all that you were able to figure it out just kind of through your detective work you and Natalie through looking at some of the things. So that's pretty awesome.
And I could easily look at those helmets and say, this is not what they're wearing now. Something's changed, something different. I could not pinpoint the years.
Right.
Like, I had to look that up. I knew generally when it was changed, but like the Dolphins I knew mostly just because they're my team. But even like the minor tweaks to the Panthers and Lions helmets, like I knew those happened. I just wasn't exactly sure when. Would you believe that I'm pretty sure I just tried to show all those logos, all those magnets, and I didn't have that camera up for anyone to see. So, but you at least heard me talking about it, and that's all that we really care about, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But that was just a little fun side project. So Natalie and I are going to use it this year. I'll put the Dolphins schedule at the bottom. I'll keep the helmets in the order of my projection so that we have something to look back on. And we will see if we can figure out a way to make it work for the playoffs, because that would be a lot of fun to incorporate that into our football, playoff football watching.
Even just like a little magnetic whiteboard or something, like you could create the bracket.
Right,
you know?
and I was interested in looking up, do they have updated magnets? Like, did someone make magnets with new helmets, the new helmet logos?
Oh, that would be cool.
It would be fun to update the board, or at least update the ones that have changed. Or even get throwback ones. How cool would that look to have like the Buccaneers creamsicle helmet on there?
Right, right.
I think that would be a lot of fun. So. Oh.
There we go.
So. Yeah. Trying to think.
What are your thoughts on the two things Penn State related? Beaver Stadium renovations. I mean, I know there's not like.
There's not really. I mean, there's general plans.
There can be people who are right, but like at the same time, I'm like I kind of am excited about the things I've seen. You know.
Oh, in the past, something that started like 7 or 8 years ago.
Right.
Good,
like,
the running backs hurt.
Like updating things that clearly, in my opinion, need updated. From and I don't mean this
bathrooms,
negatively,
concessions, Wi-Fi.
But I go up to a lot of games. I've been to a lot of games. Like, bathrooms, concessions, cell phone / Wi-Fi abilities in there, and I know they're kind of limited on that a little bit, just because like you put over 100,000 people in such a confined space, like there's only so much you can do. But But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for that and for some of the other things like the Jeffrey Field renovations. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I know
for
they
soccer.
talked about how that was a driving thing. So like, yeah, it's all good, which also will free up space at Rec Hall. Like it's good overall, in my opinion.
Right.
And then the other thing was, how about that opener being the NBC night game?
That's awesome.
That's
But
exciting.
I think that's really cool. So
Yeah.
7:30 on NBC, right?
Yeah, 7:30 NBC on September 2nd, I believe, is the Saturday of Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, that's
so.
really cool. That's awesome. I was hoping to go to that game. It's just not going to work out. But man, that would. They haven't played the Mountaineers in 31 years.
Wow.
1992 was the
Wow.
last time West Virginia and Penn State played. I believe that was always one of the pictures that I looked at going into Damon's when it was
Yes,
Damon's.
yes,
Was
yes.
one of the games against West Virginia. I
So,
want to say it was early 90s.
it's
that
really
would have been
weird.
pre-Big Ten.
So, like, I've always had this weird thing because, like, I knew that Penn State and West Virginia used to be, like,
Big rivals.
a big rival. But, like we've talked about in terms of our, like, knowing when, like, being aware of the teams and fandom and stuff, that was mostly, like you just said, all before I was super aware of lots of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
well, it's like the rivalries with Pitt, West Virginia,
Right.
Syracuse. Like, those rivalries
Right.
were, like, only ending right before we got into Penn State football.
Exactly.
Before we were old enough to even, like, really know what was going on.
And to be honest, I kind of through my lifetime, through my college years and stuff like that, I always kind of viewed West Virginia as, like, because they're a huge rival of Pitt, like, it was kind of like the enemy of my enemy kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
like, so, like, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, but Pitt doesn't like West Virginia, so, like, how bad can West Virginia be? You know, like, it was kind of like that kind of thing.
Right.
Especially because they didn't play Penn State. Yeah, so... So anyway, I love that they're playing West Virginia. I love that it's going to be a night game on Labor Day weekend. Like that should just be a lot of fun to kick off the new TV deal. Like, hopefully Penn State can handle their business.
Yeah, I want that to be a
How
big
awesome
win.
would it be to,
I mean,
like,
I
just
just
come
want
out
to win,
and
but man,
hand-
how great
right.
would it be to kick off the season in a night game against an old rival
Right.
on the new broadcast package?
Right.
Start a year that there's a lot of people that think Penn State could be good.
Right.
So
Yeah, go out and set the tone early. You know, don't be messing around. Get it done. So that would be fun. That's what I'm hoping for. That's a long way off, but just like some exciting things that have come out there. So
Penn State's been doing really well on the recruiting trail.
Yes,
I believe
yes.
they're top 10 nationally for the class of 2024. And of course, none of that will be solidified until at least December, maybe even February of next year. But
right.
they've been doing really well.
Right,
They-
but you got to be somewhere, so it's better to be at the top than
Right,
the bottom.
yeah. Better to be there.
So things are winding down for us here. We're nearing the end of the fourth quarter in our second game in an NCAA 14 football dynasty with the FAU Owls. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you've been enjoying it. We previewed the NFC and AFC West divisions to kick off our 2023 NFL preview. We talked a little bit about the Sixers and the Phillies and went over a little NFL aesthetics with the magnet board that Natalie and I deduced was produced and created for the 2009 season. Really cool. I actually have an older version. I might be able to go up and grab it from when I was a kid that has pennants on it. And I was trying to pinpoint when I picked that one up and found that one a few months ago at my parents' house when that one was for. So let me go grab that one. I'm going to have to walk in front of Justin, I think, to get it.
Unacceptable.
I'm going to make him move. It's sitting right here. As I promptly rip it in half. Yeah, okay, so.
It's clearly not something that I can get into now, but it uses pennants. It has the old New York Jets helmet, which is green. It has the old throwback Seattle Seahawks helmet. It has the blue Chargers helmet. It has the retro Denver helmet that they should go back to with the D and
Oh yeah.
the Bronco. It has the Houston Oilers. It has the creamsicle bucks. It has the old Detroit Lions logo, like not even talking about the black outline, talking about no white highlights. It has the old Falcons logo from like Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah.
It has the blue and yellow St. Louis Rams. It does have the Carolina Panthers. It has the green Eagles helmet, not the Kelly green Eagles helmet, and it has the Giants written out on the helmet, not the NY. And then the biggest one that's the most interesting, because I don't believe they ever actually wore this on the field, is the Jacksonville Jaguars helmet, silver with a logo that I do not believe they ever wore on the field.
Wow.
So that's something that.
So you'll probably find this blasphemous, but the creamsicle Bucks uniforms just don't do it for me.
Get out.
Not a fan.
Leave.
Not a fan.
Absolutely awful. Just a terrible take from you.
I don't know what it is. Just not my thing.
So I'm pulling up the Jaguars. Yeah. So Jaguars helmet history. So their first helmet uses the Jaguars logo that is very similar to the one they're using now. And this Jaguars logo that they have on the side of the helmet, I honestly don't see it. I don't see that Jaguar logo anywhere. It's very interesting. So it's called. It's unused logos from '93. So this is a logo that they had made but never actually ended up using. Here's a picture of a possible uniform. I'll have to save this for another stream sometime. I wasn't expecting to be talking about this, so I don't have graphics ready. And as they watch you play football, they can't even see what I'm talking about. So I will see if I can put something together or take pictures of this to pull up. And obviously, because of how old it is, Justin, we're talking about 3 divisions in each league. There's only 30 teams. So it's Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Cardinals, and Redskins in the AFC East. Then in the NFC East, the NFC North is Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings, Buccaneers.
I recovered the onside kick.
And then the Central, it's Falcons, Rams, Saints, 49ers, and Panthers. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Western. Sorry, there was no North, right? The North was the addition. Central was Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bucks. West was Falcons, Rams, Saints, 49ers, Panthers.
I remember when I was younger just thinking, like, how are the Falcons in the West?
How are the Carolina Panthers in the West?
And the Cowboys are in the East,
they didn't make any sense when they started adding teams.
Right.
It really didn't make much sense. So that's got to be for 1995 then, right? Because that's when the Panthers and Jaguars joined the league.
Oh yeah, I see that Jaguars one, man. Wow.
Yeah, but look at that logo, that helmet.
Yeah.
They never wore that on the field.
Wow.
So this had to be made like in late '94 when they knew the Jags were coming.
Right, and so and I don't know the exact years, but like you look at it, like it's still the Houston Oilers, but they knew the Jaguars were coming in. Because they were the Oilers for one season in Tennessee, correct?
2, I think.
Okay.
I think they were Tennessee Oilers twice.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's awesome.
I think I might have to take some pictures, write up a post, and send it to Paul Lucas at UniWatch.
Right.
I feel like that might be something, and he might have done something on it before. I'm sure he's talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars on the blog because he started UniWatch, I think, in the late 90s, so it was only a few years after the Jaguars came into existence. So I don't feel like this would be anything new to him, but I feel like it would be cool to talk about my process with Natalie of how we were narrowing down when these things were created based on the helmets and logos.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Some of these pennants, like the pennants themselves look cool. Like I like that for the Dolphins they use orange as the primary background. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like so much about it. So I was like, I'm not getting rid of this. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, well, it's been fun. We're under a minute here, up by 8 on our rival FIU. This will give us an undefeated season, regular season, and conference season.
Oh, by the way, Paul Roberts says run 62.
Run 62 drive?
Yes.
62 drive. How about I give a little 40 trap? A little 40 trap action. So, Paul, your ears should have been ringing. Justin and I were just ripping on you the entire... No, I'm just kidding. But your name did come up because I talked about having Paul come on. We haven't had him on in a bit, at least not on this show. I know a year ago we had him on Bulldog Hour to talk about Wilson running backs, which was phenomenal. We didn't get to do a spring show this year. I wanted to, but Chad Henney's induction into the Berks County chapter of the PA Sports Hall of Fame kind of derailed that. But we need to get Paul back on the show, talk a little NFL preview. If you can join us when you're here one week, Justin, that'd be great. But if there's a week that you can't be here, I'll see if Paul's schedule will work out, get him on to do our NFL preview. Always a lot of fun. But hey, using that 40 trap to get another touchdown, Justin, right at the end of the game.
Whatever it takes, right?
Should I one side kick it?
Yeah, but this was fun. Yeah, I did look on these posters and the board like to see if there were any, trademarks or copyrights that had the years anywhere. There are TM symbols everywhere, but there's no copyright with the year anywhere. And I don't know. The pennants are clearly stickers.
Right.
So I don't know if it told me where to put them. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it was alphabetical order. Or maybe because... No, it can't be because I have the Cardinals way down there. Yeah. I was thinking maybe it was alphabetical because that actually works for the AFC East. And actually the AFC West. I think I have alphabetically. But things break down once you get out of those two. If you're reading right to left, it's definitely not correct. So I don't know. Interesting. We'll have to take some pictures and write something up about it. So we won. Winners. All right. Justin's going to advance that. So I am going to transition over, close out the show. So Paul says Paul's got a top 10 Wilson tight end list. Oh, no, top 5.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, we talked about, Paul reached out to me and was asking me questions about Wilson top tight ends in history. And as usual, he nailed the big ones. He was just looking for, my thoughts on maybe a few others out there. But we had a quick text discussion about it. I don't know where the Wilson top list goes from here because I feel like quarterback and running back, it wasn't easy to do, but I feel like there were so many names we could discuss. I feel like the other positions are going to be super hard.
Right.
Tight end, wide receiver, we try grouping those together, but
and we had trouble comparing eras.
Yeah.
With some of the things we've already done.
Well, and
think about trying to do receivers.
Think about comparing eras of offensive linemen.
Yeah. It's just so different.
It's so different. It would be difficult. So I don't know. I love that series. I love talking quarterbacks with Paul 2 years ago, and the one we did on running back last year where we had Jamie Sands come on. We just had Rodney Gillen this past February on a show, and he was on all 3 of our top 5 lists. That was a ton of fun. But man, doing tight ends or wide receivers or offensive line, that's a big ask. So, all right. Well, Justin, do you have anything else to say before we get out of here?
I do not. I just think, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the AFC West and the NFC West next year. But it was fun to get our start on the previews.
Yeah, I'm glad we got that done. I feel like the AFC and NFC West are very similar to this past season.
Right. I do just have the quick shout out real quick to someone we both know. Matt Ginter had another amazing
Ironman, right?
Ironman 70.3 out in Utah this past week. Won his age group of the 25 to 29 year olds. That's
unreal.
I can't even really wrap my head around that.
Unreal. Fantastic.
Such an awesome. I say kid. He's not a kid anymore.
Yeah, right.
Such an awesome kid.
Awesome
really
guy.
For him. Yeah.
A great Wilson football story related to Matt Ginter I share all the time. I won't do it here because we're running out of time, but hilarious. If you ever want to know my Matt Ginter Wilson football story, just ask. Justin knows all about it. It's hilarious. Speaking of Ironman and running long distances and being a tip-top form, an acquaintance from Penn State Meteorology, Tyler McCandless won the Pittsburgh Marathon. He has competed multiple times to make the U.S. Olympic team. I love following his marathon runs that he does around the country and around the world because he constantly is winning them. I would love for him to make the U.S. national team and compete in the Olympics, and those qualifications will be coming up in the next year because Paris 2024 is, about 14 months away? So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And we know the Summer Olympics are superior to the Winter Olympics, so
Don't get started. We don't have time for this. Although we could. I don't know. See, I don't know how the qualifications go for a lot of these sports, but there's some Wilson field hockey players that could be making some noise and pushing for a spot. I shouldn't just say Wilson because obviously Wilson is most important to us, but there's some Berks County natives that could be making noise on once again on Team USA for Wilson or for field hockey.
yeah, absolutely.
Because apparently South Central, Southeastern Pennsylvania is a hotbed for field hockey, and it's cool to see their exploits shared across social media. I love reading about that. So that'll be coming up in about a year or so. A lot of those qualifications will be happening. But any birthday shout-outs, Justin? Anything from you?
My mom had a birthday this past week.
Yes. Happy belated to Cheryl. And trying to think. Happy anniversary to my parents.
Friend of the show, Joe. His birthday's tomorrow.
Happy birthday to Joe V. Happy belated anniversary to my parents and to Kelly's parents. They were separated by a week. Happy early birthday to my cousin Nick. He will be celebrating in a week when we're not on air. And a happy first birthday to his daughter Juliet. So, yeah, it's been a crazy time getting here in the last 10 days. NFL draft wrapping up. Justin and I did a 4-hour stream, which was fun, but also very tiring.
It's awesome. And then I realize it when I'm leaving here, I didn't leave that chair for a long time.
Sat there for a long time. So speaking of a long time, this outro is long, so we're going to get out of here. I promise now. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks on Sunday, May 21st to probably finish our Year 4 Dynasty. We're going to play Conference Championship and hopefully a bowl game, a big bowl game, and that'll be it for that. And we will preview the South Divisions in our 2023 NFL preview, covering the NFC South and the AFC South. So for Justin Raffoff, I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening to episode 380 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. See you next time.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. Woo-hoo! You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.